How's it going, Rick?
It's going good. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood for sure, right? Beautiful
It
sunny
is a
day.
beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I had to run out of the office fast, out of the home office fast today into this office this morning. And so I'm like you, Rick, I have no makeup on. It's kind of
Well,
nice. It's kind of nice to not just like,
that's right.
brush your hair and go. Must be nice to be you guys, right?
I know. My hair is always, what can I say about the hair?
Yeah, you got it going on.
At
All
least I
right,
have
good.
some
So
left.
we have more topics today about buying a home because that's what we do.
Mhm.
And so this week we said that we were going to talk about how to get qualified and why. So
Mhm.
you've come up with a few simple steps here. Let's talk about it. What's the first thing and
Yeah,
why?
and by the way, this is, I think, really the most important first step when buying a house. I think we can all agree on that. So
Yeah.
the process is really easy. It's just a simple online application. It's information, just basic information: where you live, where you work, how much you make, how much you have in the bank. Just real basic stuff. Nothing too
And
complicated there.
does it have to be exact, or can it be pretty close and then you'll figure it out later? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's actually, as long as we're close, we're good. Because
Mhm.
I'll ask now, when I have that information, I will call the buyer and ask some really good follow-up questions based around what we need to have to complete the loan approval.
Mm-hmm. Got
So
it.
no, it's very few buyers get it exactly right on the application. But that's
Mm-hmm.
why they have me to kind of go over those numbers and explain that to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we do that, I will have that data in the file. I will go ahead and approve their loan, which is really cool. And then once we get that loan approval, at that point, we can actually prepare and provide to you a loan approval letter for an offer at that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, but the next step is to validate that approval, we've got to collect their financials. And by that, what I mean, Megan, is their W-2 forms, pay stubs, bank statements, and so on. And so why is that important? Well, it's important because when we present an offer, I call the listing agent to
Mm-hmm.
validate that approval. Of course, you already have the letter with the offer for the approval, but I make that additional phone call to the seller's agent, so they know we have a validated real buyer that can close this escrow.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really helps that listing agent have a certain level of confidence, if you will, that I can tell the listing agent that we have validated all the financials. So that tells the seller's agent and that seller that your buyer is really well prepared.
Mm-hmm.
But why is that important to the buyer? Because there's a certain amount of work the buyer has to do, and it's not that hard actually. Just basically do a PDF, upload it to our system. It's really pretty easy stuff to do, and we can walk them through that. But why is that important to the buyer? Well, it's important to the buyer because once you get to that escrow stage, you're opening escrow, that loan is good. We're good to go. That's the
Mm-hmm.
least of your concerns now. You don't want to be in an escrow where the buyer is worried about, do I qualify? Will I get the loan approval? Is it going to work? No, we already know it works.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
already know it works. That's pretty cool.
I know.
And
I
so
can't
then,
imagine opening escrow and then not knowing if you're really going to get the loan that you
yeah.
need to get. I mean, there's so many things to worry about. You're spending money on
Mhm,
inspections and appraisals and
mhm,
everything else. I mean, I
right.
don't know why you wouldn't have your ducks in a row before you did that.
Yeah, for sure. And the buyer knows at that point what their payments are, what their budget is.
Oh yeah.
So the buyer goes into the escrow period with really a lot of confidence, and they can get really now
Mhm.
excited about owning a house rather than
Mhm.
worried about the loan. We don't want to be losing sleep at night worrying about the loan.
Knowledge
That
is
should be the last of
power.
our concerns. Yeah, for
So you're
sure.
saying you go online, you submit your application, then Rick gives you a call, goes over the
Mhm,
application with you, and
mhm.
then you get follow-up documentation, and that's like their W-2s, bank statements, pay stubs, that sort of thing.
Pretty basic stuff. Yeah.
They load it up online,
Mhm.
and then you go over, you crunch all the numbers with them. What's your
Yeah.
payment? What's your taxes? What, this kind of thing. And they
Uh-huh.
can enter escrow knowing that they are approved for the loan. Now they can focus on all the other super important tasks at hand which is inspecting and doing your due diligence.
Yeah, that's for sure. And, it just makes the process a lot easier for
Hmm.
the buyer. It just really does. And it's not a hard process. I know at first it seems like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. It's so hard. You'd be surprised how easy this really is. And I hold the buyer's hand through that entire process. So we
Hmm.
try to make that we try to make it easy because it is fairly easy. And if
Right.
there's any challenges, we'll know those up front, how to fix the challenges before they get to an offer.
Exactly. I love that. That's perfect. You know how I am. I want everyone to know everything about, what they're walking into before they walk into it.
Yeah, no doubt.
I know. And I want to give a quick market update. I had kind of a funny call
Mhm.
this week from a seller who was going to sell their property. And they said, we're going to wait to sell the property because we want to wait until the market improves. And I thought that was interesting.
Mm,
So she got that information from a family member, and
mhm.
it was from a family member that didn't live even in the United States. And they told her not to sell the property because they were going to wait for the market to improve. And I said, what are you looking for as far as an improvement? I thought,
Mhm, mhm.
it's not going to be 2022 where a property for a seller is going to go up in some ridiculous amount of money. I mean, it is going to increase every year by, a normal amount, hopefully. Um, but I just thought that was really funny. It's like, hey, if you've got a
Yeah,
question about the market, um, call your realtor or, your loan officer, call somebody who's in the
yeah,
business
for
and
sure.
knows what's going on. Because I'll tell you, I'm really glad that we got some people in homes in November, December of last year.
Yeah.
Because this weekend I mentioned to you, I was out showing one of our clients' property and it was very busy. So I
Yeah.
think that overall, the market, people are back from their holiday. They're not skiing on the
Mhm,
weekend. Now
mhm.
they're back. They're starting to look for houses. And by golly, the interest rates have stabilized.
They're
And
getting better.
so people are like, okay, it's going to be mid to high fives mostly. That's
Mhm,
doable.
mhm.
Let's go buy a property. Prices came down 10%. Like this all makes
Yeah.
sense now.
Yeah, yeah, and to your point about that client, I mean, one thing I've learned over the years, and it's very common, and we both know this, but whenever someone's buying or selling a house, suddenly they get all this advice from outside
Right.
people, family, friends, coworkers, and so on. And it's all well-meaning advice,
Mhm.
but it's oftentimes the wrong advice because they're not in the business like you and I are. They don't see
Right.
it every day. It's
Mhm.
almost like when someone has a medical procedure, then all your friends will tell you about how that works. No, you
Right.
go back to the doctor. You don't, they might have their opinion, that's great, but you leave it up to the people who are doing this every day, that see it
Right.
every day.
Right. Yeah, like I don't
Yeah.
I don't go to anybody for tax advice except for my tax people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's like
right.
I ask them some questions and I make my own decisions. So anyway, I just
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. And I'm seeing a
Hmm.
lot of that. Like people are like, oh, there was somebody I had to pay for a class. And yesterday they said to me, well, oh, I know real estate's not good right now or something. And I was like, what are you talking about? She thought I couldn't afford to pay for this class.
That's funny. That's
I just
funny.
thought that was really silly. I'm
Yeah.
like, the real estate market's fine, thank you.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it'll
Yeah. Thanks
be
for
more.
asking.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was really funny,
Yeah.
but it'll just be seasonal this year, like normal. And I love
Yeah,
like
it's a good
normal.
market.
Yeah, let's do it. So anyway, so
Yeah.
good. Super easy to get pre-qualified.
Mhm.
Don't be silly. Get your pre-qualification before you go out looking for houses so you know what you can afford and how much money you need. And next week we'll talk about how much money do you need to buy a house? How much money do you have to have available in the bank
Yep.
or what have you? So we'll go over
Yeah.
that
How
next
that
week.
works. That sounds
All right.
good.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff.
Let us know if you have any questions. We're always here to help. and have a
Awesome.
wonderful week.
Thank you, Megan. See ya.
Thank you. And- Sorry. And thank you very much.